Okay, so RLB, I think you carried out some research fairly recently, which the sort of headline finding, which we will then drill down into more of the sort of nuances, but headline finding seems to be that design and build of future data centers needs to be in your words, substantially rethought. So I guess just, yeah, a bit about the background to the survey and why that sort of headline finding.
Yes, well, I think we wanted to undertake a significant survey across the European market, and we were able to get 475 responses, 50-50% split across operators and contractors, really trying to delve into issues around the supply chain in particular. But the report underlines several key points that necessitate the design and build of future data centers needs to be substantially rethought. Operators are expecting more capacity out of output in 2024, which is significantly driven by cloud computing and AI demands, leading to new designs to handle these work load efficiencies. While power efficiency remains a priority, data centers must also be cost effective. New designs will be likely need to find a better balance between these two factors. Traditional data centers are designed outputs might not be suitable for the high processing power needs of AI. New designs will need to be adaptable to this growing sector. The report also sort of highlights the challenges posed by the current supply chain. Future data center may need to be more adaptable to potential disruptions, perhaps using standardized components or designs that can be easily modified. While liquid cooling is gaining traction, other areas of sustainability need improvement. New designs will likely need to incorporate more substantial and comprehensive sustainable practices. Overall, our report emphasizes a holistic approach with collaboration and innovation to address these challenges. This suggests a significant shift away from traditional data center designs methods as we're currently experiencing.
Okay, so just sort of to focus in on some of those points you've mentioned, the efficiency of power consumption, I suppose that's a fairly obvious one, but is still one of the biggest, if not the biggest priority when it comes to designing a data center. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. I think 61% of our respondents said efficiency of power consumption is a priority. Power availability is a significant obstacle to data center growth, suggesting that existing grids are struggling to keep pace with increasing power demands. Predicting the exact power and cooling needs of AI is difficult. 60% of our operators rank meeting the needs of AI infrastructure as a top design priority, reflecting this uncertainty. The challenge lies in building profitable and sustainable data centers. High energy consumption directly impacts both of these aspects. Reducing power consumption can improve profit margins and obviously environmental impact as well. Our report suggests a lack of coordination between data centers planning and grid infrastructure development. This implies that data centers may struggle to secure power sources if their energy needs aren't adequately considered when planning from a grid perspective.
Okay, and another sort of main focus, I mean, it's obvious because they want to optimize their investment, minimize spend stuff, but minimizing the cost of data center design. So excuse my ignorance, but I mean, can you waste a heck of a lot of money designing as opposed to, I just assume that everyone would kind of know how the best way to go around designing data, but you suggest in the survey, I guess, that people are able to waste money, not get efficient spend, for the design. How does that work?
Absolutely. I think 57% of the respondents said sort of minimizing cost was a design priority. 31% of the respondents have increased the use of prefabricated data center components. So suggesting that we're not quite there in the way that we're approaching DFMA or modular design. But yes, I think that there is as the sort of demand for data centers has increased so substantially, I don't believe we are learning from our past design sort of mistakes, and we're not designing enough from a buildability perspective, because the locations are changing. There's not enough uniformity in our design across various locations. So I think that understanding the entire buildability process and supply chain is significant in understanding how we can improve that efficiency. I think there's a lot of sort of demand and cost implications, which has meant that we've needed to rethink the way that we've constructed these buildings in the past.
Okay, and AI, I mean, no secret, everyone's talking about AI, the AI explosion, but I think you've highlighted that there's going to be a significant increase in data center capacity, mainly driven by AI and cloud, which is, I guess, not unrelated. And therefore, for a lot of folks, developing the right AI infrastructure within the data center, or whether, I suppose, whether that's legacy or new build, is quite a priority. How much of a, I suppose, challenge stroke opportunity do you think that is?
Yeah, and again, survey results are aligning with that sentiment, with 60% of operators, ranked meeting the needs of AI computing infrastructure as a top design priority. I think the surge is well understood. However, the impact on design aspects is creating a new set of challenges. AI applications often rely on powerful graphic processing units, GPUs, that take up a significantly more electricity than traditional central processing units, so CPUs. So data centers need to be much higher power and densities to handle the surge in demand. The extra heat generated by AI hardware is a real headache. Traditional cooling systems or air cooling systems might not be sufficient, forcing data centers to explore more complex solutions like liquid cooling. Some AI servers and storage units have got an increase in weight, so requiring sort of data centers to have improved structural capacity to bear this load. This could involve, reinforcing floors, increased structural performance within the frame, increased load capacity within the substructure, or utilizing specialist racks. So as AI models handle massive and often sensitive data, the security becomes even more critical. So data center designs need to be robust from a security measure perspective to safeguard this valuable information. The field of AI is rapidly evolving, and so is the hardware. So the designs need to be more adaptable, or will soon become outdated and inadequate.
Okay, and then the supply chain, I think you referenced, and in terms of the disruptions, I think the report highlights various sort of disruptions from climate, geopolitics, the well-documented skills shortage. I guess, how much of a problem is that now? I mean, are projects themselves getting, if not derailed, at least, the times to complete projects, etc., are they getting disrupted? And is it going to get worse before it hopefully gets better? Just your thoughts, I suppose, as to the problems in the supply chain and how they may or may not be addressed.
Yeah, we've observed significant cost escalations. I think these are exacerbated by long lead times, particularly when concerning major plant and equipment, coupled by rising finance costs. I think these factors have led to a cautious approach when initiating some projects, with even some of them being temporarily paused. The pre-lease window generally spans about 2 years. So we're seeing a substantial sort of investor commitment when placing major plant and equipment. For instance, some generators lead times have been quoted over 24 months. So further emphasizing the need for careful financial planning and strategic decision making. Our report found that most likely and most disruptive events are aligned with increased sort of environmental regulations, disruptions from physical climate risk, and geopolitical disruptions at the top. Just to quote a few of those. So the increased environmental regulations both was ranked the highest in terms of most likely and most disruptive. Geopolitical disruption to trade routes and agreements, again, was our second highest rank element. And then disruption from physical climate, floods, forest fires, etc., was closely a third behind that.
Okay, and so disruption from environmental regulation highlighted, but the industry's on its road to sustainability, net zero, etc. And any thoughts? I mean, I think liquid cooling you referenced earlier. So I don't know, you uncovered sort of whether people are all rushing to do it now or it's somewhere out there in the future, and I don't know, any other things that we might put under the sustainability heading.
Yeah, so I think the liquid cooling is a solution, but it definitely comes with its challenges. I think the survey suggests a significant shift towards this, with 58% of the operators expecting their data center space to use liquid cooling by 2030, with immersion cooling appearing to be favorable. The liquid cooling offers a potential water saving as it operates in a closed loop system. However, the liquid cooling also intensifies the existing power demands of data centers, which links back to the power efficiency becoming such a priority in design. The power density has doubled in recent years and is only going to intensify. So this requires even further sort of focus on power consumptions. So our report sort of suggests that a focus on achieving efficiencies within the existing technologies, and therefore a primary focus actually being on reducing the existing PUE expectations, with less sort of emphasis on groundbreaking advancements in liquid cooling. Sort of traditional air cooling methods are well established and understood, and this might explain a more cautious approach to adapting innovation when discussing liquid cooling solutions. But integrating liquid cooling effectively into the data center designs is complex, requires a substantial amount of investment, and is, I think, a sort of barrier to innovation at the moment. So, there is a slower uptake in renewable generations and the adoption of sort of green accreditations, and actually the measuring of embodied carbon. And this might be as a result of the fact that the sort of renewable sources have generally high upfront costs. So we discussed earlier about the balance between cost efficiency as well. A lot of sort of legacy issues. Sort of many of the existing data center stocks were built on older, less sustainable technologies. So retrofitting these facilities are expensive and disruptive. So therefore, sort of discouraging the sort of rapid upgrades. The data centers prioritize uptime and reliability above all else. So there might be also a hesitancy to adopt these unproven, substantial solutions within the process. So therefore, sort of suggesting that a more iterative approach is sort of leading the charge rather than revolutionizing the way we design data centers at the moment.
Okay, and when it comes to the investors, I'm wondering, with all these sort of potential problems or disruption, if you like, are they changing their attitudes? I mean, I'm wondering, are they wanting to get others within the ecosystem, like, to help share the risk a little bit of what's going on? Yeah, just how are investors, I suppose, reacting to the what's going on in the industry?
Yeah, quite interestingly, sort of 60%, 66% of the contractors and 47% of operators said that they have used contractual measures to share the supply chain risk with their counterparts. 60% of respondents believe that some of the materials and component suppliers have unfairly exploited the supply chain disruption to increase their prices. So this is sort of suggesting that there is a little bit of trust issue within the ecosystem at the moment. But I also think that with the attractiveness of the data center as an investment area, we've seen new entries into that market from a fund perspective. This has meant that they've sort of come with legacy understanding of other markets and imposing that onto the data center sector as well. So we're seeing that sort of tussle between unfair and fair transfer of risk. But ultimately, I think our advice is that the risk needs to sit with who can sort of mitigate that risk most effectively, and to ensure that there is correct sort of remuneration for that risk as well, really.
Okay, and interestingly as well, the industry is looking at new locations in terms of developing data center infrastructure. And I'm wondering, is that partly to mitigate some of the supply chain issues we've been discussing, but also I suppose the sort of primary tenet of the whole industry is that power availability, you know, there's no point in building a data center if you can't get power to it. So just, I suppose, yeah, what other locations, if that's right, are being considered, and presumably power, you know, you can't choose a location and then try and get some power to it. You have to make sure that there's a good power availability before you decide where to go. Yeah, just if you can just sort of expand on that.
Yeah, so I think that you know, we talk about the, you know, secondary locations coming to the market, but in terms of overall sort of capacity or megawatt sort of load being put into the market, it's still very much the flap and FLAD regions, with Frankfurt leading that charge. However, as an overall percentage increase, we're definitely seeing the secondary markets outstripping those locations. So we've our respondents, 65% of them saw Italy being a new and alternative location, with Madrid, Berlin not far behind. So I think, yes, I think you're absolutely correct. Power is pushing that. But also availability of specialized contractors and supply chain is supporting those decisions. So a secondary sort of impact of latency and AI has also meant that secondary locations have become more attractive because of that reduced sort of presence of latency, and therefore becoming more attractive, plus also availability of land. The flap and FLAD regions are coming under increased pressure, and land costs as well. So I think there's a number of effects that are impacting the decisions to move to new locations.
Okay, and then sort of trying to summarize a little bit, bearing in mind all the sort of challenges we discussed, just how do you see the design and build of data centers change? I mean, are we going to see I think you mentioned the word revolutionary earlier on, but is it going to be a massive sort of change and relatively quickly, or is it going to be a bit more of the evolution continuing, but maybe at a slightly faster pace than has traditionally happened? Yeah, just your thoughts as to how radical or not will be the changes when it comes to data center design and build.
No, I think you're absolutely right in that. I don't think that there's going to be a huge revolution and change in design. We're going to be slowly adapting our design aspects. I think the industry itself has shown its resilience to disruptions and the way that it reacts, but it is very, very cautious. You know, reputation is everything. We talked about uptime being such a crucial part of the data center sort of philosophy, that we need to ensure that the technologies that are utilized are tried and tested. So there are going to be slower iterations, I think, in the design aspects. However, with such a huge increase, I think records being broken in commissioned data centers as well as pre-lets in 2023. That's a huge increase. That demand might necessitate new design evolution. So I do think we're at a point at the moment where we might see some significant changes, but I think those will be as with the data center, very cautious and well-tested technologies before they become the norm.
Okay, we covered a fair amount of ground, and you give us some great insights into what's going on in the space. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for your time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.